And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Friday, April 19th, 2024. And I have a lot to talk about in this particular YouTube video, but if you'd like additional information, you can always go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It brings you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left and tabs for the various territories. Point and click anywhere on this map. It'll pull up a very specific forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. Quick check of the map here, lower 48 this Friday afternoon. We have freeze warnings in effect for areas of the Midwest, Iowa, southern Minnesota, surrounding up into southwest Wisconsin, eastern Nebraska. We have freeze watch for North Texas, fire weather, red flag warning, southern Colorado, and winter storm or winter weather advisory there for the northern part of the Colorado Rockies. But here in Alaska, we do have active weather. We're still getting some light to moderate rain falling across Kodiak Island. There's been this atmospheric river that has dumped just over 7 inches of rain in 3 days over a 72-hour period. It has caused some minor flooding, especially along some of the roadways, and the couple of creeks there that flow through town certainly have risen to within bankful. And there was even a couple of minor landslides yesterday on Thursday, and that threat will continue into at least Saturday morning before things start to improve. We have wind and light snow falling along areas of the northern and western Seward Peninsula. That's going to move in tomorrow, Saturday through Saturday night. Also another area down there in the Pribilof Islands. But sunshine and big-time spring warmth will continue across the eastern mainland all the way down through the Panhandle. Temperatures this afternoon, some areas are well up into the 60s, even flirting with 70 degrees. But that warm, dry ridge of high pressure that's currently centered over northwest Canada will begin to break down this weekend. And way out to the west, we're going to see a stronger area of low pressure. It's going to merge with a system coming down out of eastern Russia, and it'll take shape as it moves in with that low coming up out of the North Pacific over the western Aleutians this weekend into early next week. So Shishmaref there, north side of the Seward Peninsula, we'll have a winter weather advisory here for tomorrow into tomorrow night. This afternoon, though, it's partly sunny, 20 degrees. Kodiak City still seeing mainly light rain this Friday afternoon and fog, temperature at 40 degrees. But again, the threat of minor flooding and even potentially isolated landslide will continue tonight into Saturday morning before conditions start to improve. That atmospheric river finally starts to break down. Way up the upper Yukon River, Eagle along the Alaska-Canadian border, sunny and warm, 61 as of mid-afternoon. And further south, Klawak, sunny, 67 degrees. Klawak had the state's high temperature yesterday at 68 degrees and will likely be back up around there or even exceed it. So again, there have been some really warm temperatures. Sitka has been at least into the mid-60s today as well, and 60 degrees around Fairbanks. Well, here's an image taken by the Kodiak Borough Emergency Manager yesterday from minor landslide. What happened is a bit of a hillside behind this dwelling slid down through and busted through this porch area and blew out this particular room. You can see a table, and it looks like a table saw there, propane tank. So as far as landslides go, minor damage, but I should say the damage is significant, but the landslide was minor. So fortunately, no injuries or fatalities, and the threat of at least an isolated landslide will continue there around the Kodiak City area. As a result, there still is a flood watch in effect through Saturday morning, and then a flood advisory specifically for the city of Kodiak. Now, the way the Weather Service has its zone set up in that when they issue any type of warning advisory, this particular zone also highlights this area along the Alaska Peninsula, but the area we're speaking of here is just for Kodiak Island, Kodiak City. Now, we have a winter weather advisory in effect till 10 o'clock this Friday evening for the Pribilof Islands. St. Paul, St. George seeing strong northerly winds gusting up to 45 miles an hour with wet snow, kind of like what was going down around Unalaska the other day. And then we're going to see some light snow and blowing snow developing Saturday through Saturday night, early Sunday morning here along the northern and western side of the Seward Peninsula. So that's where the most active weather will be, and then some of the most beautiful weather is going to be here over the central eastern interior, Copper River Basin through Yakutat and the Panhandle. Another nice spring day coming up for Saturday. So as far as, let's take a look up in the sky now. Alaska aurora and sky viewing. Well, the aurora season is winding down. Not the fact that the aurora will stop occurring, but that simply in Alaska we're getting too much daylight and the length of night is shortening, especially in the high latitudes. So the Alaska aurora viewing season will be ending toward the end of this month, certainly by early May. We have multiple weak coronal mass ejections heading this way. Could arrive yet tonight. We had one disturbance arrive earlier today. Other ones are coming in over the course of the weekend. So if you have clear skies, which many areas do here, especially across the central eastern interior and the Panhandle, we could see some enhanced auroras at times. It's just a matter of timing, being out and watching things. We have a full pink moon of April coming up Tuesday afternoon on April 23rd. So moonlight will interfere with the aurora, but if the aurora is bright enough, it can overpower a full moon. I've seen that happen a few times. So again, though, try and get out because this may be one of the last opportunities the next few days coming up until the nighttime grows long enough here in the latter half of August to begin the viewing season again next season here coming up, as I said, late summer and into the fall. So check out this plume of moisture coming up out of the North Pacific right over toward the entrance of Cook Inlet and Kodiak Island. And it just kind of sits here, continues to do so. So that's what's feeding the bands of rain and rain showers into that area. And then the moisture recurves up along the west side of the state. We have a number of low pressure systems, nothing especially strong, but this frontal boundary is that boundary by which that moisture can ride southeast to northwest and keep the precipitation going, as it's why the flood watch and flood advisories will be allowed to continue at least through Saturday morning. Before then, this feature should start to break down. We have the stationary front. This is the way the weather map looks this Friday afternoon. High pressure ridge here over northwest Canada with the ridging extending eastward. You can see clearly in the satellite image, there's the Yukon, middle upper Yukon Valley, the Alaska range. So showing up very clearly with the clear skies as I showed you on those FAA webcams. Back to the west, here's a low here. This is the low that's responsible for giving the Pribilof the strong northerly winds on the backside of it with some wet snow. And later tonight, early Saturday morning, still that frontal boundary lying across the lower southwestern Gulf into the North Pacific. Still the ridge over northwest Canada, going to give at least central eastern mainland and the Panhandle another nice spring day Saturday. Back to the west, we have an area of low pressures off of the eastern Russian coastline. There's going to be an upper level shortwave drop down and meet up with another low coming up out of the North Pacific as we get into Sunday. So the front that's currently located over the southwestern Gulf, North Pacific will begin to weaken as well, more of a trough by Saturday afternoon. And then we have this collection of just weak lows, nothing deep. All the centers are above 1,000 millibars, but the high is also, a surface high is beginning to relax. And then come Sunday, we find just this remnant trough in the Gulf, nothing strong. Could spread a few showers up into the Panhandle. And then the former ridge that was here just continues to weaken. And then here comes the low up out of the North Pacific, merging with energy coming down from the north there. And it's going to form a pretty strong low down around 970 millibars as we go into Sunday night and into early next week, Monday. And it'll have some strong gusty winds around it, gale and some storm force gusts along with areas of precipitation. That'll be the most notable weather feature, and it just kind of expands over the Bering, and the Aleutians will be impacted here through early next week. Relatively quiet weather, though, for the mainland interior. And I said no big storms coming up along the Gulf Coast for a while, though there could be a few light showers compared to the drier weather that was along the northeastern Gulf Coast and Panhandle much of this week. So lows will be above freezing, even some areas above 40 in the Panhandle, like Sitka, and down here Ketchikan and Craig. Down below freezing, Copper River Basin, it just chills off there at night, staying above freezing in Anchorage Bowl. And then temperatures 50s to maybe still a few lower 60s isolated here within the Panhandle, not quite as warm as the past couple of days. Anchorage still gunning to try to get above 50. Some lingering lower cloudiness just kind of kept the cap on the temperatures today and Thursday. But chances are any sunshine Saturday, temperatures will easily jump up low, even some mid-50s Saturday afternoon. And then low temperatures Sunday morning again, coolest there, Copper River Basin below freezing again, but staying well above freezing, 40 or so there in the Panhandle. Mid-30s or so across the Kenai Peninsula, and then temperatures Sunday afternoon a little bit cooler around the Kenai Peninsula. There may be a few more clouds around, and back here through the Panhandle, notice temperatures still some 50s, but the 60s near 70 will be gone by then, back to reality. So here, lows down around freezing in Fairbanks. Places like Eagle, Northway, that will be quite warm again Saturday. Could see readings back up at least lower 60s. Pretty much from Eagle down through Fairbanks and even there at McGrath. Temperatures along the Arctic coast, chilly though, still in the mid-upper teens for highs. Low temperatures. Sunday morning there is a little colder air coming in behind a trough that could knock lows down near zero along the northwest coastline from Point Lay up to Utqiagvik. Temperatures elsewhere generally getting near or below freezing throughout the area, and a little cooler Sunday afternoon. 50s though still across the east central interior, with perhaps an isolated 60-degree reading if you get a little extra sunshine, but definitely colder temperatures here north slope and the northwest Arctic coast, only single digits for highs, and even teens down along the western part of the Seward Peninsula at Wales. And looking at the southwest interior, lows tonight near freezing or just above it. Extending out along the Aleutians, it's actually chillier in the eastern Aleutians and up here through St. Paul, St. George, because there's that low in place and there's just a little pocket of colder air aloft that's sitting there. Temperatures Saturday afternoon could be up near 60 at McGrath, but as you get out down here along the Yukon coastline, only mid-upper 30s. Same thing here in the eastern Aleutians and Pribilovs. And then Sunday morning lows below freezing here along the lower Yukon Delta and the Pribilovs, but generally just above freezing, maybe mid-30s elsewhere. And then for Sunday afternoon, as we trail out along the Alaska Peninsula into the eastern Aleutians, lower 40s or so, so cooler. 40s in Bethel on up, going up the Yukon River, still maybe in the 50s though in the headwaters as you get up toward and above McGrath. So, yeah, you know, it's better than it has been. And the temperature outlook for the end of the month, April 25th through the 29th, still is looking at temperatures to average above normal over the southern mainland, centered on Cook Inlet, the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, extending out, especially in through the northern Panhandle, including Yakutat, Sitka, and Juneau, with perhaps below normal temperatures continuing there along the western part of the North Slope, and especially Utqiagvik down toward Point Hope and Kotzebue. But precipitation in the far north should average a bit below normal up there across the northwest, and then maybe just a little above normal across the southern mainland, including the Alaska Peninsula, eastward all the way down through the Panhandle here to close out April.